said hello. And so we'd met each other online. And I just felt immediately like Fiona just has this really clear energy, really vibrant, open energy that I just felt really connected to immediately. And then we actually bumped into each other, didn't we? I came into the shop where you were working. It was about a week later, and we just kind of like looked at each other and were like, oh. And then it's kind of evolved from there, and now we meet up each other most weeks. And
it's great. You know, when and actually this is interesting because we're talking about this kind of attraction in a way, and how our energies attract. And when that happens, as it has with all the people who I've done these conversations with, there's the things that come from that which help you feel better about yourself and have a happier, healthier life. I think when we're in that place of abundance and gratitude, and oh gosh, I can tell that could be a whole other conversation, so I'll reel myself back in. But you know, how lovely that we've met out of an abundance, and I'm sure there's quite a few people who are doing or have done the Deepak Chopra 21 Days Abundance. Yeah, it's very lovely.
Yeah.
And so Lucie, for those who don't know you, do you want to just say a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Lucie Simon. I'm a nutritional therapist and a retreat chef. So I cook on yoga retreats with my sisters. So I'm all about food. The love of food is really my journey. I've come from an Italian background, so my Italian family instilled a love of food at a very young age. So food and love are kind of one of the same thing for me. But I guess I've always had this kind of, you know, we have this relationship to our food, which I think is really interesting, and kind of really this sort of juicy area around food of like just, yeah, this question of, and that's where the nutritional therapy comes in. It's kind of like, you know, looking at our relationship with food, getting curious, and then working through that to find out what foods are useful for us and understanding our bodies more. So it's a huge area and something that's, you know, you're constantly learning. The science is constantly changing, but it is essentially about really getting to know yourself and your relationship with food. Which is, you know, one of the closest relationships. It is the closest relationship we have with our environment, because we literally ingest food, you know, so it has a potential to just make this huge impact in our lives, which it does for better or worse. And sometimes we can have a very tricky relationship with food. So yeah, I'm really about encouraging a healthy relationship, a wholesome relationship, and that's the whole journey of food, understanding where it comes from, to, you know, when it's on our plate. So,
and that is something that I'd be curious to know how many people have heard that spoken in that way. That spoken that way, I was stumbling over my words there, but to hear somebody talk about food as in, you know, this is a relationship that you've got with food. You know, we can love our food. I hate to use the word should. I kind of use it in inverted commas because, you know, there is no should really. But, you know, when we have that love of our food and that respect of our food, then energetically how that feeds us in a way. I mean, I remember weirdly the things that I remember from my nutritional therapy days are slightly random, but hearing that you can have a really rubbishy diet, and then this story came from somebody who said was comparing a person having a burger from a well-known food outlet, but really taking the time to sit and enjoy the burger. And yes, I know it hasn't come from a great place, but the difference between that and actually somebody having maybe access to great food and then eating it mindlessly and rushing it down, or maybe stuffing. So there's this how you eat as well as and I know you incorporate that whole thing in the slowing down and the appreciation. It's so very different,
we're giving our body messages as well. It's, you know, we're giving our body messages before we eat our food, how we're approaching it. You know, this is really important. It's, and as you say, you can be eating, if you're eating whatever you're eating, even if it's as you say, something that you know is maybe unhealthy for you, and if you eat it thinking, oh, it's unhealthy, and you've got this guilt coming up, then you're giving your body that message, you know, guilt message, and that it's shame, guilt, and that that hears that. Your body, we're trying to find a way to work with our body, not against it. And these messages we give it, even before we eat, are really, really important. So yes, enjoying the food. These, I know that you work really well. You do a lot of work around anti-diets, or being through the diets, and it's so true. We come from this, like, our society just compounds us from so many different angles, telling us what we should eat, what we shouldn't eat. We've got all these kind of one size fits all rules that just don't work for us, and they just leave us to feel like, what am I going to eat? Because it's almost like you're told so many different stories, and it is coming back to that trust. And I think that is where we, where we're always striving for, is trust in our bodies, trust in the food and our relationship with our food. And it's, we have so many opportunities to change this narrative that can be, it can just change our lives.
We do. And we, in our sort of pre-chat, and we were talking about trust, and this is one of my big things about how, so at what stage do we given that responsibility for what's best for us to somebody else, or giving the power away, isn't it? And we forget that once upon a time, even if it's when we were tiny, that we had that inherent trust in ourselves, that we would, as tiny babies, you just don't keep continually eating. You stop when you're full, and then you make a noise, wah, when you're hungry, and mama comes and you feed, and then you stop when you're full. That it's really hard to overeat as a baby, isn't it? And somewhere along from, being a baby to an adult, we lose it. Well, we can lose it. And there are many,
And I think that connection, as we say, this kind of emotional connection with our food, which goes, exactly as you say, from day one, with, this immediate connection with our food through our mothers. It's very, this maternal connection. So food is very emotional, and we have all of these kind of, these reasons that we eat, and it may be that, we need that comfort. I know I've been a comfort eater, just go to and continue to, and that's okay. And but it's just like recognizing that when that's happening, and it's just being aware, just having this awareness about our food. And okay, if you are feeling like I need comfort, then recognizing where you go to. I know, say for me with my nutrition journey, it was, I used to feel like, I need comfort, I'll go for like a cake, or a kind of chocolate or something like that, which I still do sometimes go for, and but it is that kind of just questioning what is that, cake. And it's sort of, because you get the sugar, you get that it's probably reminding yourself of when you were younger. And it's just kind of, just tracking that and thinking, where does that come from? And in the same way, when you feel guilty for eating certain foods, or, just having a look at that, what's going on. And that's what I hopefully help my clients to understand, unpick, and then help them to realize what might be actually more beneficial. And when you're looking at our bodies and how they're made up and how food interacts with that, there are certain kinds of foods that can really help us throughout our lives at all different stages.
And I love how you talk about going back and unpicking. And I mean, I do that kind of stuff energetically, because sometimes I think we don't know, but sometimes it is really obvious, isn't it? It was like, oh, well, when I used to fall over and my, mum or my nana or whoever, my teacher would, give me something, we're given sweets, aren't we? Oh, they're there, make it all better. So we're told that messaging from young, food makes it all better. And then we self-medicate with food for whatever reason. When we might want a hug, we might want, obviously right now, definitely self-medicating.
The hugs.
So actually that takes me in quite nicely to, missing the hugs. I hear you. And so how has your experience over the past 3 months in this very unusual situation been?
Well, I think, really been very lucky in that, we have had some huge challenges and changes in my life. I'm a mother of 2 teenagers. We've all undergone a lot of change, but actually I would think that we're pretty good with coping with change. We went away, as you may know, we went away last year. We took the kids out of school and we actually went traveling for a year. So we've kind of it almost felt like we got a bit of a experience of the lockdown before the lockdown, as in that we had to change our life completely. We had to really get clear on our like wants and needs, because we were traveling with very small bags. We were faced constantly with the fear of the unknown. So there's got all these parallels that I keep drawing on recently. The kids were homeschooling when we were traveling. So actually we had those challenges that I know everyone's facing now, of like trying to school your kids when, you know, I don't have the training. I'm not, you know, I'm not a teacher. But we almost had that challenge before. So that actually now we've come back to the UK. That was last August. And now we've gone into this experience. It's almost like, I mean, my daughter says to me, it's like we've spent a year out of the house and now we're almost spending a year in the house. It's like complete contradiction, you know. And this is very much life at the moment. It's like polar opposites, like massive fear, but massive love. And it's almost like anything's possible.
Yes.
But yeah, that comes at this sort of idea of the corona coaster, you know, that these, you know, our emotions just going up and down, and we're all, you know, even though we've all had very different experiences, we're all on this journey together. And it's been very humbling and very grounding that we've all had, you know, the whole entire world has been through this, like, just very amazing experience, or just kind of, you know, it's affected everyone in all of different ways. So yeah, in reality, like so I have many different roles. My nutrition I've managed to kind of take online, which has been great. And the fun side, I've really enjoyed starting this lunch club. So for the last couple of months, this is as a way to kind of wanted to continue with the food and nutrition, and certainly it's really important at this stage as well to keep ourselves well. So yeah, sure. I've started a lunch club on a Monday, and that was for my nutrition clients and friends and family. So we meet in this kind of way via Zoom, and we cook a lunch together, and it's kind of like a way to healthy start to the week. And that has been just, you know, really a really wonderful way for me to continue to have that community.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I didn't know when you said you did. I heard you talk about the lunch club, and I suppose I remember when on that particular day I was at the bottom of the corona coaster. And I didn't kind of click. I knew you were doing it, but how lovely to all be cooking, doing the same thing together. And I do like how people have had some really good creative ways to be resilient, really, because that's what you're talking about, isn't it? And it does tickle me how, okay, if there's going to be a pandemic, maybe go traveling with your family for a year before, because that is really good resiliency training.
Yes, it was all planned out. I'm very glad that we did that last year, not this year.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So no, we were incredibly lucky. That was just, you know, a lifelong dream. And it's something that, again, it's like, again, just sort of sometimes our fears, like this confronting our fears and actually seeing them as opportunities. You know, when you get this fear and it's like your body just goes into this kind of like fight or flight mode, it's the stress response, and we freeze, we literally freeze, or we fight, or we, you know, and this is like, we're all facing this at the moment. But there is this other side of like, if you can just learn to lean into it, which I think, you know, we're all learning to do, right? But it's almost like, just imagine what can happen, like the opportunities that you have in that space, rather than contracting. You know, it can be a really exciting time. And actually, that's quite a, you know, I hear that, but that's actually quite difficult to do, isn't it? You know, when you're in that kind of like, oh my god, deer in the headlights, frozen, or, you know, or you're running, pretending it's not happening, you know, it's a fight, flight or freeze. It's how to do that. And I know sort of nutrition does actually play a role in that, doesn't it? Because it can help with a bit of homeostasis. Am I saying the right thing? Is that the right word? We're keeping our body in balance, and we can help with that with food. And there are certain foods that, yes, put you into that kind of stress response, or like stimulatory food. And sometimes with caffeine, say, or sugar or alcohol, we can kind of put ourselves into this, you know, and they're stimulants, they help. stimulate our body, but they can put us into this kind of high energy, zone where actually we then find it more difficult to digest our food. So you have these sort of two, fight and flight, the parasympathetic nervous system and then the sympathetic nervous system, and we can't be in both at the same time. So it's like, for our food and to make sure we can digest our food, we need to be in that rest and digest state rather than the fight and flight state. So yeah, there's, this again comes back to that kind of our relationship with food and how important it is when we're kind of sitting down to our dinner, giving our bodies giving our bodies the signs that it can calm and rest and eat the food and get the nutrients that we need.
And I mean, I don't know about you, but one of the things that I say, because I know I'm a recovering perfectionist, right? And I didn't ever think I was, because I would say, but I don't do things perfectly. But it was that desire, it was that kind of not good enough theme that was running along, which is actually, well, in my book, that's perfectionism, because I'd think, oh my goodness me, I'm a failure if I can't do all of this. If I can't have a great breakfast, lunch, dinner, do my meditation, do my exercise, I'm just shit. I've just failed, literally. And I understand more about shame now, so I understand a little bit about where that comes from, and that's unpicking something even before that. But I mean, do you get people who have that kind of, that kind of negative self-talk, I suppose, is what it is? It's that, that going on, really.
Yeah, and we all have that, don't we? And it's about recognizing that. And even, if you, what is this? Yeah, this idea of perfection is, it doesn't help us, it doesn't serve us. And yet we have this idea, and where is that coming from? Yeah, where is this idea of this? It's judgment, it's self kind of criticism, it's all this, that little voice in your head which wants to keep you small. And it's true, we all have that, and there is no perfect way. And actually, it's the joy is in the just living with life, letting it, not having this. I mean, there is the idea of like 80-20, isn't there, where you can look at 80% of the time you try, or you do the best as you can to work with your body. 20% of the time, let it go out the window, just let it go. And actually that is a healthy balance as well. There's, if you're trying to be, say you're on a diet, you're eating everything perfectly, well, that would be something that we'd want to look at as well.
Yeah, for sure. Not sustainable, is it?
It's not sustainable. And and certainly with food, it's like, there's this community around food as well. You tend to think that it's a very personal thing, but actually food means community, and it connects us, and allowing that connection to happen. And say even with my doing these lunch clubs, and when I first started it, I was really nervous that would I have everything okay and ready and on time, and actually you realize that when you do it, there are days where I drop something on the floor and it's like, okay, it's not going to go, or but we laugh about it and we continue, and it's just it's like letting that the layers go and being who we are and being okay with that.
Absolutely, there's an acceptance. And I think for me, this is like one of the little gems that you don't necessarily think are gems, but during this time, so many people are doing this kind of stuff, at all levels, and there's dogs barking in the background, trains going by or whatever. And so it helps us to learn that, oh my goodness me, it doesn't have to be perfect. And what is that anyway? So hopefully, other people are taking that on board and going, oh, I'm going to be a little bit kinder to myself, and actually to start to think more about my food as something. And this is one of the things you say that I love so much, which is about, you said actually, making peace with food and having this relationship and this curiosity, because it's our connection to the earth. And that, yes, you might know that, but when you said it, I was like, oh my goodness me, yes, it really is.
And there's a lot of healing that needs to be done right now. I mean, when we're looking at, coming out of this lockdown, and, I definitely feel like there's this point where you just feel like, okay, it's about being more conscious and making these decisions more consciously, you know, and our food system needs to change. You know, it is not working for a lot of us. There's, you know, huge, there's food waste on one side, there's food banks, you know, on the other. How have we got this massive like gap between this food system? It just doesn't make sense. And then we've got plastic covered, you know, all our fruit and veg in plastic that ends up in the oceans. And the chain of food coming from all these different places. And, you know, it's about really understanding where your food comes from, and as much as possible, you know, if you can, getting the food as close to that source.
Yeah,
and as well, just simplifying our food, you know.
Yeah.
The diet, it can be so confusing when you're looking at macros, micros, all of these different kind of concepts within diet wellness industry. But actually, when it comes down to it, just getting the most basic form of that food close to its natural form as possible, making it fun. I mean, that is the other thing. We all know we've got to eat fruits and vegetables, but if you're just told that, you know, you're not going to, it's really hard to, you know, just be told you need to eat that. Well, how are you going to eat that? It needs to be fun. It needs to be delicious. So it is, you know, I think my sort of passion and the where I come from with food is like, how can we make it easy to eat really healthy food? You know, make it look fun, delicious, make it taste really good. And yeah, get as close to the natural form of that food as you can, and your body will then know what to do with it. It's designed to break the food down, and our problems with our diets and our chronic health conditions are usually when you've become detached from that food and you're eating a more processed perhaps food or the refined foods, and our bodies almost like don't know what to do with it, and then it causes problems down the line. So generally, although everyone's different, there's no one size fits all.
Yes.
The idea that, yeah, if we all try to get back to the basic form of what, you know, the form of that food, like I love to say, eat the rainbow. It's a great concept to kind of putting in rather than focusing on what you're taking out of your diet.
For sure.
That's a great one for kids too, you know, put a rainbow, I have this little rainbow chart that we put up on the fridge, and the kids try to like focus on getting all the colours in the day. It doesn't matter if it's fruits or vegetables.
It's
you know,
so good.
Don't count.
Yeah. It's so good to keep it simple, Lucie, and that's one of the things I like about what you do. Well, simple and delicious. And I'm sure that there are women here who, like me, I mean, I don't know about you, Lucie, but I've been on countless diets or eating plans, and even if they're supposed to be clean eating, that was so dull. It was like, oh, you can have your piece of chicken or your piece of fish and your broccoli, loads of broccoli, but God forbid you put any flavour on it. It's like, so kind of like eating it like, you know, just getting it out of the way in this very functional way. And that's bringing back the joy and the pleasure in eating is so important, because then we feel satiated, right? Don't we? We've got that, you know, you feel what one of my mentors were called dessertful. This doesn't mean to say you have to have dessert, but you know, you have that satisfaction factor where you go, I actually really enjoyed this. I actually didn't eat as much as I thought I would because I really enjoyed it. And yeah, making food delicious. I've got to come on one of your cooking courses for sure.
Yeah, I kind of every Monday. So we hold them every Monday at 11 o'clock. And we do the lunch. So this last Monday we did a batch cook. So the other thing about like batch cooking, so you can save yourself time, money, you know, through the week. So we batch cook together, and now I'm still eating the salads and, you know, throughout the week. So yeah, they're such good fun.
Oh, that's so nice. One of the questions that came up, so before we wrap up, I know because I'm a menopausal woman, I probably attract in lots of other menopausal women. And Sandy had given us a question around menopausal weight gain. Now, I know this is not a 2-second answer that you can say, but is there something that's fairly easy that Sandy can be thinking about from a food perspective, and I can speak to her about the energetic side of stuff as well.
Certainly. So yeah, there are certain foods that are really helpful around different stages of our lives, and with women it's largely that we're looking at hormones, so balancing our hormones throughout life. And when we're going through the menopause, then our balance of estrogen changes in our body. We have the kind of estrogen that we have is changes and reduce. So actually it puts more strain on our adrenals, which are kind of like makes our stress response, kind of works that area a little bit more. So it's about trying to restore this balance of estrogen and hormones within our bodies. So there are certain foods that certainly would help with that. Phytoestrogens, which are in beans, in tofu, in soy products. And certainly if you go for soy products, then go for the organic version of them. But they can help to balance our hormones as well as fats. So hormones are fats. They're fats in our body. So getting the essential fats in, things such as your seeds, your flax seeds, chia seeds are really great for, and certainly balancing out our hormones throughout the month. Flax seeds can really help. Things like oily fish, really useful. So it's, we would need to look at, and certainly it's, not a one size fits all. Everyone is different, but certainly to help balance our hormones, these kind of essential fats are really important, and these phytoestrogens to help us balance out. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing to think about, because I think we can focus, so much, as you say, it's focusing on the positive rather than, thinking about, well, what do I take out? When you start, my terminology for this is crowd out with the good, and I don't know if that's come from, we've both done the same training, right? Whether that came through there, but yeah. Thank you. And what about protein as well with that?
Protein, yeah, absolutely. So protein, essential fats, and getting your rainbow veg in, so you get your fiber, probiotics as well. There are these kind of cornerstones of the diet that we kind of, these are what we're putting in rather than focusing on what we're taking out. So, and that they are all cornerstones. Really important. Is that your doggy?
Yeah, my dog's going, yeah, food. What about me? I need food. I need some good nutrition.
Yeah, and also, and the other thing that's really important, it is the food that we're eating, but also the environment. And as I love on your, all of these talks on Wednesdays, I've loved listening to them and hearing all the different approaches. And it's true, it's having this holistic approach, making sure that we're moving, because as well with our food, we need to, and our bodies, we're working with our bodies, we need to move our bodies. We need to make sure we're sleeping well. These are real basic fundamentals that we can work. If we can work on getting those right, then the rest follows. So
yeah, and I like how you talk about what another mentor of mine called the big rocks. So it's like getting the foundations in, the big stuff. Don't necessarily go straight in and look at the little tiny things. Let's get the big stuff sorted first, and then see what happens, because you might notice that things even out quite a lot, and then we can look at some of the smaller stuff. Thank you. Hopefully that's useful for Sandy and many others too, I'm sure. And so what I'd like to ask you finally is, do you have a message if you were to go, right, there's this one thing that I want to share with the world, even though it can start in our little group? Do you have something that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that's really helped me throughout, and I'm continually learning. You probably know already of the growth mindset, Carol Dweck. I don't know if you've read the book, but this is something that I think just, I find sometimes when you're in this fixed mindset of I can't, or, the frustrations we face daily, and I think, again, just getting that kind of awareness around it and having a growth mindset. So adding a simple yet on the end of a sentence, and especially with food, it's like we can have these rules that we put around ourselves with food, but it actually, if you put the growth mindset in there and just like get curious about it and ask yourself, if you're having the fixed mindset is really looking at I can't, I won't, I can't, must, should, and the growth mindset is all about curiosity, opening it up. And I think that just helps me no end, and continually, it's something that I come back to and helps with the kids to, when we're facing frustrations and fears, and just adding that kind of mindset in just really helps to kind of open it up, and I find it really useful.
And of course, yeah, I meet you there with that, sister, because that's one of the things for me that takes away from any fear or resistance around making any change. If you turn it into, either, I use the term being a scientist, go, I'm just going to experiment. I'm just going to experiment. I'm just going to experiment. So then that opens up your brain, and having this curiosity to what if, and then we're now going to add on the Carol Dweck.
What if? What if?
Yeah, what if? And yet, to open up, be open to possibilities. That is fantastic. I love that. So thank you very much, Lucie, for coming along.
Pleasure.
And lovely to see you twice this week. And what I'll do is I'll put the links to how people can get in touch with you. And yeah, and I absolutely love the idea of your lunch club and helping us make a community. And that's what I like, communities. We're better together, right? Have I ever heard that before?
And we're very lucky in Lewis as well, right? We do have this wonderful community, and it's and certainly the foodie community as well is very open arms. We've got a wonderful market where we are. We've got these connections to great food and great farms around us, so we're really, really lucky for that.
Yeah, so open up your love for food, everybody. Don't fear food, don't hate food, don't berate yourself for food, just love your food. It's time to start a loving food revolution, or a food love revolution. Yay! So thank you very much. We shall say goodbye from Lucie and from me. Thank you very much for watching. I know I've had Sammy watching, so thank you, Sammy. Give you a special nod, and we will see you very soon. Lots of love.